Hey, First Things First listeners, before we start the show, I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com, reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app right now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports, plus a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, as well as the televised version of this show, just a click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. So download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com. Now let's start the show. And good Monday morning to you guys. Welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolfe.
Good morning, everybody.
Hold on, Nick. Nick Wright, Brandon Marshall, Kevin Wilds. I get to start the show. I get to say something, and it's because I love you so much, Nick. We talked all week about a certain quarterback who some of us didn't think would perform and show up. And we wondered what would happen. And there was a lot of crow to be had on this show. And Nick, my friend, Taysom Hill did indeed show up. And when you are ready to admit it, my friend, we can discuss it ad nauseum. He is a quarterback in this league. He belongs here.
Is that what we're starting with?
He will stay here. No, because that's not big news. We already knew it. We're starting with the thing we didn't know, which is the smaller story. That's
Taysom
where we are starting this morning.
If you're a Saints fan, you should be proud.
Titans. All right, guys, I'm an adult, and I'm going to address the elephant in the room. Baker Mayfield was great. I said it. 4 touchdowns, no picks, put up a franchise record, 38 first-half points. I said the Browns needed to beat a good team, and they did. I said Baker needed to come up big, and he did. Now, am I convinced he's a superstar after one solid game? No shot. Let me see you do it again. But the Browns are 9-3, all but assured a trip to the playoffs. And here is le man du jour with a funny running style, Baker Mayfield, after the win.
I've always believed in myself. I'm not going to pay attention to the BS, just put my head down and work. You know, the job's not finished yet, but playing confident and being who I am, not looking for any approval on the outside, is how I've always been the best at what I've done. And so that's how I need to do it. I can't let people change me because somebody did it different in the past. I am who I am, and I've always said that, so I'm going to continue to do that and improve.
All right, Nick, buddy, the floor is yours. What were your thoughts on Baker in yesterday's game?
Well, while I was watching yesterday's game, I couldn't help but think about my wonderful colleagues from right to left on your television screens, Jenna Wolfe, Kevin Wilds, Brandon Marshall. So let's start with Jenna. Jenna, I was, I said on Friday I was muting the text thread from you. So I'm now going to go to it, unmute it, and see what I missed. Because I'm sure Jenna was texting during the game. 1 second, here it is. Wait a minute. First text I got from Jenna was Sunday at 7:52 p.m. You see what NBC is doing with Kornacki, breaking down the playoff possibilities. It's brilliant.
It's between us. That's just
not a single text. Not a single text during the game.
Nothing.
In fact, the only text Jenna sends me is about a job she knows that I desperately want and think I should have, doing a touchscreen big board with probabilities. So she's actually needling me. So that's Jenna Wolfe. So she didn't want to text me. Then there's my buddy Kevin Wilds. Now Wilds, to be fair, doesn't deserve quite as much venom as Jenna and Brandon do when it comes to the Browns. But he's piggybacked on some of it. So to my buddy Kevin Wilds, all I would say is this. Baker Mayfield in the first half yesterday had 1 fewer touchdown passes than your guy Cam Newton has on the season. But I'm really saving most of this for Brandon Marshall. Brandon Marshall, who 6 weeks ago said put in Case Keenum, and then Friday said, folks, this is what I need to see. A Browns win and 250 yards passing for Baker Mayfield. Well, how about a Browns win and 300 yards and 4 touchdowns in the first half en route to the highest scoring first half any team has had in the league all year. So I'm just wondering if folks want to send apologies to Baker, to the Browns, how you guys want to deal with it, Brandon, because they answered all your questions.
Yeah, I mean, that was the conversation on Friday. If he threw for 250 yards and a win, we should consider them as a contender. I'm willing to have that conversation. Jenna, you said something really interesting in your open. You said they beat a good team. You are right. They beat a good team and a terrible defense. Going into this game, we talked about it Friday. When you're going against the 28th ranked defense, 31st in pressure, they can't get to the quarterback. Of course he's supposed to do that. That's what we want to see. Now, moving forward against the Ravens, he's supposed to do that. He looked great. Baker looked great.
Supposed to put up 38 first half points. That's a high standard.
Baker looked good. They played their best game when Tennessee played their worst game. This is what you want to see in your quarterback. But can we see it more? That's the question. Can we see it more? That's the only thing I have. I have nothing against Baker. I'm just calling it how it is. Nobody will stand on the table and say, Baker is my franchise quarterback. He's going to lead us to a championship. Nobody's going to do that, Nick.
Well, so, Wilds, I don't know about you. I mean, I was here Friday. I think we all knew what defense they were playing. I didn't hear a lot of people picking the Browns to win. And as far as, well, they were a bad defense, he had the best first half of football any quarterback statistically has had against any defense all year. So if we're going to even qualify this one, then the easier explanation, Wilds, is we're just going to continue to hold them to an evaporating goalpost of standards. So when they don't win the Super Bowl, we can say they came up short.
You keep talking about this goalpost moving. The goalpost has been the same for all 32 teams, all quarterbacks, all defensive coordinators, all owners. It's to win a Super Bowl. Now, look, you talked about the defense. You brought it up. There was a reason why I brought it up Friday. I know what Baker is capable of doing against bad teams. That's why I said it. Against the Tennessee Titans, he should go for over 250 yards. Now, did he have a phenomenal first quarter? Did he have a phenomenal game? Yes, he did. And a lot of that, too, is Kevin Stefanski. Kevin Stefanski got his team in rhythm. Kevin Stefanski was creative. Yeah. It's great. But at the end of the day, it's two different conversations we're having, Jenna. Is it right. Baker? Is Baker good enough to be the quarterback of this team for the next 10 years? And also, can he win a Super Bowl? There's two different conversations.
All right, so let's stick with the latter. The Browns get the win. According to 538, they now have a 92% chance of making the playoffs. So we're saying there's a chance. And that begs the question, Nick, is it time to consider the Browns? And I can't believe I'm asking this, but the Browns at 9-3, Super Bowl contenders. You sort of have to, no?
Yeah, Wilds, if they were in the NFC, absolutely. But they're not. And they can't beat the Chiefs, but there's no shame in that. Nobody can. And so, yeah, I'm not going to call them a Super Bowl contender, and I'm not going to let you guys, and this is why some of this is for you as well, Wilds, because you got this ball rolling Friday. I'm not going to let you guys play three-card monte with the Browns. I'm not going to let you guys all of a sudden go from nobody, aside from me, saying they couldn't make the playoffs to, oh, well, now we have to evaluate them as a Super Bowl team. Therefore, if they don't make the Super Bowl, we can say they have fallen short. So, no, I don't view them as a threat to the Chiefs in the AFC, and that's who they'd have to go through. If they were in the NFC, I'd call them a real contender. That's what I would say, Wilds.
Okay. Well, you got every angle of this covered. You're here puffing your chest out because Baker played well, but you picked the Titans by 7. And then you say, oh, the Browns are great, but you won't put them in the Super Bowl because they're not beating the Chiefs. Drew Lock almost beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs are not, we didn't put them in the show today just because we wanted you to do your thing. The Chiefs aren't looking so great. Hey, Katana, can we run my favorite graphic of 9-3 teams that are went to the Super Bowl? We got some big winners on here, too. We got the Patriots won, the Steelers won, the Ravens won. The Browns, Nick, have the same exact record as the Packers. They're not. Are they better than the Packers? Are they worse than the Packers? I don't know. I'm a simple guy. They're both 9-3. The Steelers are undefeated. They could lose tonight. So I don't think the Chiefs are unbeatable. I think it's fair to say that the Browns are a Super Bowl team.
Right.
In the Baker quote that we just ran, job's not finished yet. What's the job? To get knocked out in the first round? I don't think he's like, I'm trying to get to the first round and get knocked out. I think he's talking about winning the Super Bowl.
Okay, I think he's talking about making the playoffs. I think the first step is making the playoffs. Go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, right. Nick, it seems like you're the one that's playing three-card Marley. Tell us who this team is. Like you won't pick them to beat the Titans. You won't say that they'll win the Super Bowl. So who is this team, Nick? You know, that's a real question. Because you sit up here and you try to jump on us for not falling in love with Baker, not falling in love with the Cleveland Browns. And I do want to correct you. That was never the discussion, will this team make the playoffs? Because if that was a discussion, yeah, the team can make the playoffs, especially when it's expanded and they're playing and the year set up this way. But it's about can they really sustain success at a high level?
Yes,
and the answer is no. No, they cannot. They cannot. Okay. They cannot. But I want to know who this team is.
They're a team that finally doesn't have one of the worst coaches in the history of pro football, whose quarterback all of a sudden is having a hell of a year, who's going to make the playoffs for the second time in a quarter century and the first time in 18 years. That's who they are. They're going to win 11 or 12 games. That's who they are. And this idea that it is just, I've never heard in media the standard of we are going to retroactively evaluate 31 of the 32 teams of the league that they must have had an unmitigated failure of a season. I'm old enough to remember us congratulating the Dolphins last year for getting to 5 wins because it was a step in the right direction. I'm old enough to remember when the Bills broke what was at the time the longest playoff drought, which now the Browns have. People said, wow, that is excellent for the franchise and shows they are moving in the direction they need to move to. I'm old enough to remember across all sports having the standard of walk before you run. And that is the standard I've held the Browns to. I have been consistent. I have never said they were a bad team. I've never said Baker's a bad player. And I've never said they can win the Super Bowl.
That's fine. That's fine. But the counter to that, there's not one damn player in a locker room saying that, yes, let's turn this organization around. Every single player in that locker room, there's 2 things they want. They want their money and they want a championship. Point blank, period. So all this other talk about the Bills and all these other teams, nobody cares about that. When I was drafted to the Denver Broncos, I didn't care about their history. I don't care about the Jets' history. I care about today. That's it.
All right, we have 2 more hours to discuss this. It's going to be a fun Monday morning. By the way, next up for the Browns, the Ravens. We'll see if Baker can win big again. Unlike, say, the Jets, who found yet another way to lose, this time in heartbreaking fashion. And the biggest story to come out this morning, Nick did not actually mute me. I was unmuted. He got my text. There you go. First things first.
Hey, First Things First listeners, it's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People's Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we could all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you. Now, back to First Things First.
If you've got a weak stomach, perhaps this next story is not for you. Raiders, Jets. Jets somehow found themselves up 4 with 13 seconds to play. A lock for 31 teams not named the Jets. Derek Carr doing that to them. Winging a prayer. Boom. Henry Ruggs makes the catch. 46-yard touchdown to win the game. Why were the Jets blitzing? Even my 5-year-old asked me. She was like, Mommy, why are the Jets blitzing there? I was like, I don't know. Jets lose. Again, they're now 0-12. Here's Jets safety Marcus May after the game.
I mean, everything is happening fast for me. The call came in, a lot of, things running through our minds and everything like that. So, we just played the call that the coaches called and, and we just got to execute, but you got to help us out at the same time, just being a better call at that spot.
Put ourselves in position, with 7 seconds left. I couldn't believe they all out blitzed us. But as soon as I saw it, man, I was thankful.
Just we were trying to create pressure. He hadn't done well with it all game, so that's what happened. We had a couple free runners, but we didn't get there.
Is pressure even needed in that situation? All you have to do is stop the play from getting to the end zone. Even a short completion would have been okay.
Yeah, that's what we ended up pressuring.
Have you talked to Greg about, since the game ended, about his thoughts?
I just talked to him.
Did he explain his thought process?
He explained his thought process.
So Derek Carr saying that he can't believe they blitzed us was like the needling, right? He's just like, he knows it's coming up. He just needles his way. Nick, what'd you make of the Jets blitz on that game-winning touchdown?
Here's what I'll say. When a play call is so egregious and so out of the norm that otherwise sensible individuals who work in this profession are publicly accusing you of losing on purpose, you called the wrong play. I don't think Gregg Williams was trying to throw this game. I think Gregg Williams knows only one pitch. Blitz everybody. He considers it his finishing move. Like the old school, what was the game with Scorpion? Scorpion and Sub-Zero. I can't remember. Mortal Kombat. It's like finish him. Blitz everybody.
Finish him.
And there you go. Thank you, Wilds. It's the only move he's got. And I actually think, Brandon, the conversation surrounding was Gregg Williams trying to lose to be more embarrassing than him actually trying to lose. It's like when a quarterback gets called for intentional grounding and he goes to the refs and he's like, no, I wasn't trying to ground it. I'm just terrible.
Yeah.
I was trying to throw it to a guy. It just was awful. I think Gregg Williams was trying to win and just doesn't know what he's doing. It was a gift for the Raiders. It was an unprecedented play call, and it was an indefensible play call, Brandon.
I mean, this was the last thing that you're supposed to give up, right? Like, go and prevent defense and keep everything in front of you. I mean, everything you said was exactly right, Nick, but let me pull back the curtains just a little bit so I can maybe give you some of his thought process. So when you sit in these meetings, right, we look at situations. Game is on the line. You get into the fringe. So anywhere, the fringe is usually around the 40-yard line. And statistically, like we knew going against, to give you an example, Chicago Bears playing against the Detroit Lions, we knew when we got to the fringe area, Coach Schwartz, one of the first things he would do is go into cover zero. Why? Because he doesn't want you to get into a certain territory that open up your entire offense. So when you think about it, there's one thing that you can't give, there's two things that you can't give up in this situation at the cornerback position. You don't want to give up the inside play because you have no help. And you can't let the guy beat you deep. But you're trained to think that the ball's coming out fast. The blitz is supposed to get home. So the blitz was supposed to be there. So the defensive back is sitting there thinking that the ball's going to come out faster because everybody teaches run slants, run a 1 yard smoke route, because the ball's coming out fast. But this was terrible for this reason. You don't have the players in this situation to actually call this call, and you actually shouldn't do it. Just go into prevent, keep everything in front of you, Kevin.
Can I ask one quick question? Okay. Hold on. Can I ask Brandon a quick question, Wilds? I just want to ask I get all of that. What is the safety in the middle of the field doing spying the quarterback? What is he doing?
Yeah, so
why do you have a spy when they have no timeouts?
No, so it's cover zero. He has a man. His man stayed in the block. They went max protection because they saw him throwing everything in the kitchen, the house and the kitchen sink. So his job is once his man protects, he has to then go blitz. But in this situation, like there's not like you're not going to get there fast enough. That's why it's such a terrible call because it just doesn't make sense in this situation.
Right.
Brandon, does Adam Gase have the power to just, well, I know he has the power, but is it feasible for him to be able to veto this call when he hears it? Because poor Lamar Jackson is an undrafted rookie, not that Lamar Jackson, this Lamar Jackson, is an undrafted rookie, and he's like, hey, I'm a rookie, I just got here.
There it is.
Go ahead.
There it is. He's an undrafted rookie. You put an undrafted rookie in this position. I didn't know that, Wilds. More information. He hasn't seen enough of these reps to know, don't give up the big play. But 100% Adam Gase, he's on the headset. He hears the plays call coming in. He could have easily looked down at Greg and said, no. Go prevent. 100% he should have stepped in here and changed his play call, because it absolutely makes no sense, especially if he's an undrafted rookie.
Now they got to sit with this the rest of the week. Up next for them, a hungry Seattle team coming off a loss for the winless Jets. Take a turn. Let's talk some Eagles.
I don't know.
Guys, it's official. We have ourselves a quarterback controversy, and our Carson Wentz's days as a starter done. We'll discuss next. First things first.
I know where Wentz is going.
Back here, first things first, time to recap our Super 6 picks. Nick, your hot take Friday that the Falcons would upset the Saints almost happened, but sadly, almost don't count in the standings. So why don't you take us through how all of this
Taysom tried to give it to me with those 2 fourth-quarter indefensible fumbles to erase a lot of what had been really good work by him, but Matt Ryan and Julio couldn't come up with it. They had a shot into the end zone. Julio had it. Brandon would have caught that. Everyone says Julio, first ballot Hall of Famer. They question if my guy Brandon Marshall's Hall of Famer. Brandon Marshall would have come down with that one. I would have looked like a genius. We could all blame Taysom Hill. But unfortunately, the Saints win. They've won 9 in a row, Jenna. And I have not won Super 6 this year, unfortunately. It's a big surprise. I thought I'd have won it by now.
The next time you win will be the first time you win, but keep trying.
This year,
download the Fox
I won it last year in the playoffs.
Super 6 for your chance to win $100,000 of Terry Bradshaw's money. Obviously, as always, for more, you can always head to the Fox Sports app. All right, we're going to head to Green Bay now. Little Eagles and Packers. And this played out according to script, guys, right? Eagles struggled behind Carson Wentz. Packers thrived behind Aaron Rodgers. I worked out and ate a bunch of healthy snacks. Status quo all around from everyone. Doug Peterson finally put in Jalen Hurts in the third, and he tossed his first career touchdown pass, and he brought Philly back, but it wasn't enough. Green Bay Packers still won. Here's Eagles head coach Doug Peterson on his quarterback situation.
Hey, Doug, who's going to start a quarterback for you against the Saints?
You guys are listening. You got to let me get through this game. You just heard me say we needed a spark in this game to try to get some things going. I've got to get through injuries. I got to get through the tape. But there's a lot of things that I'm gonna consider and evaluate before anything's decided. But look, opportunity arose, and like I said, we just needed that opportunity to get us back in a football game today, and we came up short.
If I'm reading Doug Peterson, he said it. We needed a spark. Clearly, this team needed something, and we all saw what the something was. It was probably a quarterback change. But Brandon, I'll ask you, what does this mean now for Carson Wentz?
Yeah, when I was watching this game and I saw him pull him and he's standing on the sideline, I just immediately thought about, what's going through his head. And I honestly believe that this is really good for him. Take the Philadelphia Eagles out of it, their schedule, the quarterback competition may be moving forward. But for him, I automatically put myself in his shoes. As a player, when your team isn't playing well, and you're not playing well, it is hard every single day to stand in front of the media, to stand in front of your team and continue to stand strong. Like, it's hard. So I feel like this situation's a lose-lose for the Philadelphia Eagles and Carson Wentz. So the best thing for him right now is kind of sit back and just take on that role of that backup quarterback and figure out what he needs to do to move forward. I immediately think about some of the losing seasons that we've had or the bad seasons that I've been a part of. Like, it's hard to walk into the building every single day and look people in the eyes. It's a billion-dollar business, multi-million-dollar athletes. The pressure to perform and win every single day is extremely high. I remember the Jets, and I'm going to call out one of my buddies here, Vito, our ball boy and one of our equipment managers. He stopped talking to me my second year at the Jets. He stopped talking to me in week 8. One day I went out there to get up there to do a route, and I'm like, hey, Vito, and he looked at me, gave me a crazy face, and didn't even respond. And me and him start arguing in the middle of the field. It's like, you guys need to lead better. You guys need to play better. And I tell that story because it doesn't matter if it's the ball boy, the head coach, the owner, the energy around a losing player, around a losing organization, it's bad during this point of the season, Nick.
What?
Yeah,
Okay.
Vito, I called you out.
Hold on a second. Just wait a second. Wait a second.
Yeah, we can't move on.
I have a Carson Wentz take here that I'm very excited to discuss. Can we please get a full House of Athlete podcast just about the interaction with you and Vito the ball boy, Vito's career after that, what happened to him, how he had the audacity to call you out. You got shipped out and Vito's still there. That's why Brandon wouldn't take $10 million to play for him. They're like, you know what? If you're going to let Vito talk trash to me and he keeps his job, I'll go anywhere else. I'm not playing for you guys anymore. Okay, all right, we need more on this later. On Carson Wentz, I think I figured it out. Because what Brandon, it sounds like he's saying is this year, he needs to take a step back, and the Eagles next year probably need to move on, and he needs a change of scenery if he's going to have a chance at salvaging at this point his career. The problem is they can't cut him. Next year to cut him is $60 million against their cap, and the following year, 2 years from now, to cut him is $40 million against their cap. So he's uncuttable. So the question then becomes, is he tradable? And I think he is. You won't get anything back for him. And I think he's tradable to the Colts. The Colts know Phillip Rivers isn't back next year. Who's the Colts head coach? Frank Reich. What's the only time in Carson Wentz's entire career he's been good? When Frank Reich was the offensive coordinator in Philadelphia. What do the Colts have that the Eagles don't? A great offensive line. Phillip Rivers been sacked 15 times all year. Carson Wentz gets sacked 15 times a month. The Colts are not going to be in a position to be drafting a quarterback. They're too good. They know this is a one-year experiment with Rivers. And so, if you trade Wentz, the contract adjusts a bit. It's 4 years, $98 million, so just under $25 million a year, which is what they're paying Rivers. And so if you're the Eagles, I don't know if you can rebuild his value the last month or if it's better to sit him the last month. But your only path forward, Wilds, is convincing the Colts to take him. Because otherwise, he can be a backup, but he's got the 5th biggest cap hit in the league next year and a massive cap hit the following year. So you've got to find a way to trade him. You still deal with about $30 million of dead money, but you can deal with that. And I think the Colts are the spot for him. I think it's the only place that threads the needle, Wilds, because I think Wentz is done in Philly.
I love this take. Okay, so you're saying, first of all, I love this take. I love just takes out of the blue during the show. Wonderful take, wonderful take. So in order for Carson Wentz, for these last 4 games, have 0 sacks, 0 interceptions, is basically to sit him. Saints, Cardinals, Cowboys, Washington. Yep. So you think that by building his value, just by keeping him away, he's like a Jordan
keeping him
release.
healthy and
just
off the
keep
field.
it away. It's like and he'll be healthy. Now, if you're the Colts management, executive squad, and someone comes to with this idea, they're like, yeah, I've got the answer to I know we're close to the Super Bowl, we're a Super Bowl contending team. Carson Wentz. Don't you think that is met with a screw face, just like, I don't know.
Unless Frank Reich signs off on it.
Yes.
Unless Frank Reich signs off on it. Go ahead, Jay.
And remember, Nick, we talked so much about the last year that Carson Wentz played so well. It was with Frank Reich, and he feels so comfortable with him. Brandon, is that a thing that you can reunite with a coach and maybe find some of that mojo or get some of that juju back that you had when you played for him?
That's why I opened up saying that, you know, he just needs to sit down and focus on his own mindset, his mental health. Because I think we're just moving too fast. And Nick, this happens all the time in sports. A player plays bad. Now it's, he needs a change of scenery. Why can't we just give him time and see how he comes back? Prime example. My first 4 years in the league playing in Denver, lights out, 3 years in a row, over 100 catches. I was traded to the Miami Dolphins, 80 catches. Everybody's looking at me, Brandon sucks. Why are we paying him so much money? It got in my head. I dropped ball after ball after ball after ball. I was literally at home after practice going through another practice that I would go through by myself, just trying to put myself in positions that I failed in before. And then what happened a year later? I was traded to the Chicago Bears, and then I went for my best year ever, 118 catches, over 1,500 yards. So I say that because a lot of people thought I was done as a player, right? Why can't it just be that I just need just a deep I need space to take a deep breath and just back up a little bit? So why do we always have to trade players or say these players are done?
So here's the thing. Well, I'm not saying he's done. But I don't know, and you don't, I'm sure you have a strong opinion on it, but nobody knows if you would have had that success that you had in Chicago if you had stayed in Miami. A change of scenery might have been helpful, or maybe you were just...
But here's the deal.
Maybe you would have done it either way. I think Carson Wentz needs a change of scenery, Brandon.
Yeah, but listen, I had 4 or 5 different quarterbacks I played with in Miami, right? My offensive coordinator, he had challenges, right? So when you look at Carson Wentz in the same situation, yes, is he pressing? Does he need to fix some things? 100%. But where's his offensive line and where's his pass catchers, right? So let's think about that first.
That's kind of my point. But that's kind of my point, Brandon. They're not going to be able to fix that in an offseason. They're not. They're up against the cap. Like the issues that are plaguing him that are unrelated to him, they're not going to be able to do a major overhaul. So it's not just that Philly spent a second-round pick on Jalen Hurts, and because of his mobility, maybe he's able to make do with some of their issues on the offensive line a little bit better than Carson. It's also if I'm Carson Wentz, I want this. If I'm Carson Wentz and I can say I can have a fresh start, I don't have to walk past the Nick Foles statue every day. I can go back to the guy who was my coordinator when I was great. I can go to the best offensive line in football. Sign me upward. If it were the NBA, he'd be demanding a trade there. In the NFL, you're not really allowed to do that. But if this were the NBA, he would be saying, trade me to the Colts. I really believe that.
All right, let's take a break here. We want to get back to our top story now. Baker Mayfield finally coming out and putting together a terrific game. It proves he should be taken seriously. And then he comes out and does this at his press conference.
What's different about you now as opposed to a month ago, last year, whatever? Is it something looks different? What's different?
Whenever I'm about to do something, I think, would an idiot do that? And if they would, then I don't do that.
Welcome back. Let's head to Seattle in what can only be deemed a bizarro world. Giants quarterback Colt McCoy beat Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson. Let that sink in. Sure, Russ struggled. Just 263 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 more turnovers. But the Giants capitalized on that, pulled out of Seattle with a win. Mike Vick back with us. Mike, let's start with the Seahawks. This loss, you think this was a blip, or you think this is like a real cause for concern for Seattle?
I think it's a real cause for concern. I mean, we look at the Seattle Seahawks as one of the top teams, top 10 teams in the NFC. And yesterday they, really got manhandled. I take nothing away from the New York Giants. I mean, they've been competitive all year. Every single game they've been in, I think, all of their losses have come by 10 points or less against really good teams. And they've always been competitive throughout the year. And if it comes down to it, they could see the Seattle Seahawks come playoff time in the wild card. And, I just don't know if, the Seattle Seahawks will be ready. This team is very aggressive. They play good defense. I think on the offensive side of the ball, if they continue to get better, they will. Daniel Jones, he'll sit back and watch the performance and the big win that Colt McCoy had. And as a starting quarterback, when you see, your backup go out there and win a football game, a significant game, it makes you that more hungry to get better and to come back out and be effective on the offensive side of the ball. So, if this balance out for the New York Giants and they all come together, this could be ugly for the Seattle Seahawks down the road, because I think the way it's panning out, they might see them come first round. So, it's up in the air. But I see the New York Giants continuing to get better, and they're going to be competitive come playoff time.
Yeah, Mike, I'm torn here, man. I don't know. I don't know if it's a cause for concern, because some of these issues, they're fixable. But I want to lean towards it's a blip. And the reason why, because when you look at the Giants. The Giants been trending in the right direction the last couple weeks, starting with Daniel Jones. I know he didn't play yesterday, but starting with him, and then also that defense. So I don't know how much of it was them or how much of it was what I didn't see from the Seattle Seahawks yesterday. And what stood out to me when I was watching the game, number one, drop balls. That's something that shouldn't happen. I mean, there was drop balls all over the place in critical moments in that game. You don't really see that coming from that team. The other thing that I saw was the protection issues. Right tackle, Chad Wheeler. This is the same guy that I just walked by, the streets in Brooklyn. They signed this guy, off the streets, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, a month, 2 months ago, I'm not sure. But that's a huge problem. You have to be able to protect Russell Wilson. And the other thing is, because of the protection and because of, what's going on with the offensive side, Russ is pressing and he's giving up just bad sacks. There's times where he should throw the ball away. But Russ is always trying to extend the play and make things happen. Russ has to do a better job knowing when to cut ties. So those are things that stood out to me yesterday, but I think are fixable. And then the other thing I want to pay attention to, I'm not ready to lean into it all the way, but they may have an identity crisis. Starting this year, we kept talking about let Russ cook. Everybody stood on the table, thought it was a great idea. But then the ball got away from them, literally. They start turning the ball over. So what you saw the weeks 1 through 10, they're leading the league in drop back passes. And then all of a sudden, Pete Carroll stands up and say, no, we're going to get back to doing what we do best, and that's having a balanced approach on offense. Week 11, week 12, they get back to that. They start trending in the other direction. And then yesterday, what happened? How do we go from, all right, let's go back to being balanced, to then let's go back to airing it out and dropping back more than anybody in the NFL that week? So when you look at it, it could be a potential identity crisis. The reason why it's cause for concern is because it's happening, Wilds, Nick, during this part of the season.
Yep. So it's definitely a cause for concern, and I'll explain why in a moment. But first, let me look into the old first things first crystal ball. It's week 4 of the 2021 season. The Seahawks are playing the Cardinals on Thursday Night Football. And do you know what Troy Aikman says? Did you know Russell Wilson has never received an MVP vote in his career? Because he ain't getting one this year either. Sorry, Russ. My bad, bro. But we're going to go over this year as well, because that ship has done sailed. But here's why, Wilds, it's a cause for concern. Pete Carroll's had an unbelievable run in Seattle. What's the iconic, great road playoff moment? Spoiler alert, doesn't exist. It might be when the Vikings missed a 19-yard field goal, so you won that game 10-9. All their great playoff moments, Beastquake, the knockdown against Crabtree in the end zone by Sherman, the comeback against Green Bay, all of those games came in their building. So the fact of the matter is, it is hard to find, if they don't win their division, a path for them making the Super Bowl when they're going to be on the road the whole playoffs, Wilds.
Yeah. Also, Can we talk about the fight in Joe Judge's, Jenna? We spent the entire preseason making fun of this guy just because he was sliding around in the mud and taping people's tennis balls to people's hands and making people do laps for the most minor infraction. He fires his offensive line coach. Everyone's like, I don't know about Joe Judge. Turns out Joe Judge brings a winning culture. Giants defense giving up 19 points a game in the last 5 games. They started 5-2. Now they're 5-0. Or you know what? I got so excited about Joe Judge, I reversed that stat. That's the type of things that he does to you. They were 0-5, and now then they went 5-2. So switch it around, Nick. That's what Joe Judge. He confuses defense. He confuses it if you're an analyst. Great job coaching by Joe Judge.
Gotta start talking about the Giants going to the Super Bowl. They're contending. All right, let us get serious, talks and Chiefs. How did Tyreek Hill somehow manage to not score on this insane catch? We'll tell you next. First things first.
That NBC it.
Let's play a little drawing a blank. Let's start in LA, where Cam and the Patriots rolled over the Chargers 45-0. New England has won 4 of their last 5 games. Brandon, start with you. The 6-6 Patriots playoff chances are blank.
They're real. They did a great job of just holding it tight while things were just falling out of the sky and things were out of control. You know, but I'm still cautious here. You have the Colts, you have the Dolphins, you have the Ravens, you have the Raiders all ahead of you right now. A couple teams on the bubble, a couple people in the hunt, a couple wild card teams ahead of you. You know, you just got to continue to control what you can control. I don't like what I'm seeing from the offensive side. I don't think it's enough. But when you beat a team 45-0, I think everybody should be on notice. And it's a team that's led by Bill Belichick. You know, their chances are real.
True. Thank you.
So I say it's like a story from the Daily Mail. And people don't know what the Daily Mail is. It's a tabloid in England, but it's got real news. And they love salacious headlines. And one of the ones they love more than anything is man found alive at morgue. Someone who'd been declared dead. It's like, wait, actually alive. Here's the ugly underbelly of those stories. Those people usually do end up dying shortly thereafter, but they're alive right now. So the Patriots had been declared dead. Technically right now, Wild's alive. Now, are they going to live much longer? Probably not, but you can't declare them dead yet. So call the newspapers. They're alive. Their demise was premature. So that's what I say.
Oh, okay. That one hurt my feelings. Okay. I wrote help, please. And in the document, everybody was like, wow, are you okay? I said, no, I want Patriots help for the playoffs. I'm personally okay. Here's the thing. Jets, I know you're like, oh, we lost the game. Gregg Williams, this. What you really did is give the Raiders a win and hurt my old Patriots. Cincinnati, Brian Flores literally almost walked across the field to beat you up. Can you beat the Dolphins, please? So my final plea is this. San Francisco/Arizona, wherever you're playing, beat the Bills. Throw a Hail Mary down the field. I said it earlier this week, which AKA last week. They can't defend the Hail Mary. First play, boom, Hail Mary. No one will be expecting it except children who play Madden, Jenna.
I am not that child. On to Green Bay now. Carson Wentz was benched for Jalen Hurts midway through the third quarter yesterday. Hurts played the Eagles back into the game. Hurts so good with Jalen in there. I've been waiting to say that.
Oh, I like that.
Probably should have waited a little longer. Brandon, Wentz getting benched for Hurts was blank.
Yeah, the answer is much needed. I put myself in his shoes. A lot of people don't understand how toxic of an environment it is when you're losing and you walk into an NFL locker room or organization. This is a billion-dollar industry with multi-million-dollar athletes. The accountability, the type of pressure that you face every single day to perform at a high level is out of this world. So, for Carson Wentz, this is the best thing that could potentially happen. When you don't have to deal with that anymore, walking into the organization and facing your teammates, facing the media, that's hard. When you're playing this bad, your team is playing this bad, there's nowhere to hide. So when you get benched, now it's time for him to take a deep breath and focus on the future. Now, I think I'm one that will stand on the table to think that, you know, just a little bit of downtime could potentially fix these issues with the right type of pieces around him. I don't think it's time to move on. I just think they need to regroup.
So I think it's intriguing for Frank Reich. Frank Reich, the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, is the offensive coordinator in Philadelphia in 2017, the only year Carson Wentz has looked like a franchise quarterback. As soon as Frank Reich left, seemingly so did Carson Wentz's ability to lead a team deep into the playoffs, or I understand he got hurt that year, but it's double-digit wins. The Colts got a 38-year-old bolo tie-wearing interception machine at quarterback who can't wait to get down to, I think it's Florida, to be an offensive coordinator for high school next year. They know they're going to be in the market for a quarterback. They also know they're too good to draft one, and they don't trust Jacoby Brissett. Free agent marketplace isn't going to be rife with starting quarterbacks. And Philly is going to have to trade Carson if they want to move on from him. They can't cut him. So I think Frank Reich is watching Carson Wentz's struggles and saying to Chris Ballard and the folks in Indy, guys, I think we can get him for a conditional 7th-round pick. They just want to get off the contract if Jalen plays well. So I think Frank Reich is watching this and saying, you know what? That could be our starting quarterback next year.
I love it. That is 7? You know what? Take of the day. Take of the day for you. I'm awarding it early at 9:10. That's the take of the day. Well done. Congratulations. Check your mail. I sent you a little something special. The take of the day certificate. Okay. Eagles versus Saints next week. I wrote Taysom time as my answer because how the turntables have turned. Because it used to be Drew Brees, and then Taysom comes in every once in a while. And then it was Wentz, and Jalen comes in every once in a while. Now it's going to be Jalen versus Taysom. And if I was Carson Wentz, I'd be like, hey, let's just stay with like that. I come in every once in a while. When there's an opportunity, boom, I come in. So then if you end up going to the Colts, your stat line, like, look at me. 3 for 3, 38 yards, no interceptions, no sacks. And Frank Reich would be like, oh, that's really good. It's only fair. If you're doing this platoon thing, once the second platoon guy goes in, the starter still gets a little play. I don't know if Jameis has to do it, though. Jameis probably
I love that Frank Reich has no context. He just looks at the stat line. 3 for 3. I'll take it. On to New York now. Derek Carr tossed this miracle game-winning touchdown to Henry Ruggs with just 5 seconds left. Jets sent 8 blitzers, leaving nothing but man coverage down the field. Why, Greg, with 2 G's? Why, my friend? So, Brandon, Gregg Williams' defensive strategy was blank.
Too soon. Too soon. Well, Brandon, what does that mean?
Too soon.
Well, this is a undrafted rookie, Lamar Jackson at cornerback. How do you put him in a situation? Well, first of all, Gregg Williams, it was a terrible call given the situation. I kind of understand what you were thinking. Like, if we throw the whole house at them, they have to get the ball out quick, and our guys will make a play. But we know the biggest threat to this coverage is behind us, because we have no help, and inside. But you take a guy that was undrafted and he's a rookie and put him in this situation when your team is over, you haven't won a game, it's too soon. That's why this happened.
So Gregg Williams' defensive strategy was his finishing move. And anyone that used to play the old school great arcade game Mortal Kombat knows that was a good game that was made great by the invention of finishing moves. Your Scorpion, you pull the guy's heart out. Your Sub-Zero, you freeze him and you rip out his spine. And so you played just to get to that moment. Gregg Williams doesn't just want to win. He wants to win with his finishing move. A quarterback sack. Probably a quarterback roughing the passer penalty that doesn't get called. That's what he's shooting for. Through hell or high water, that's how the Jets are going to get their first win. That's what he wanted to. He went to the finishing move. Unfortunately, it got turned on him, and now they lose. And it's maybe the worst call I've ever seen.
Would it be sick if there would be a great finishing move, though? Okay, the Jets should have called a timeout here. I went with, so it'd be like, if Adam Gase saw this, like, oh, timeout. Hey, I don't know about the finishing move. But look, here's the other reason. Henry Ruggs ran a 4.27. So if you want to call this, someone on the sideline like, hey, Greg, I know you want to do your finishing move, but it's Henry Ruggs. He ran a 4.27. He's super, super, super fast. Can we just wait to do your finishing move just for the next game? Please, we'll just hold off on the finishing move. 4.27, too fast to do this finishing move. And Greg like, oh, I want my finishing move. Like, no. 4.27, we'll do it next game. Let's just go in prevent. He's like, fine.
All right, let's head out to Arizona, where Sean McVay continued his dominance over the Cardinals. Now a perfect 7-0. Jared Goff bounced back with 351 yards and a touchdown. The Rams move into first place, tied out west with the Seahawks' shocking loss. We've got ourselves a nice little stretch run to the playoffs now. Brandon, the Rams' win over the Cardinals was blank.
0 for 4. Look, we talked about this Friday, the keys to the game. We knew it was going to be tough for the Cardinals to win this game, so we gave them a few keys. Let's see how they did. Let's throw them up. Number one, we said Kyler has to run at least 7 times. You look at the last couple games, you know, when he runs, they win. When he doesn't, they lose. Did he run 7+ times? No, he did not. A fail there. Number 2, forced Goff to turn the ball over 2 times. They didn't do that. Goff played clean, trending in the right direction. Great job. Hold the Rams to 115 yards. Why is that important? Because when this team runs the ball well, they win the game. They had 119. Great job, Rams. And Hopkins, we needed to see him go over 100 yards. We needed to see him have 7 catches. We needed him to have a TD. Nope. Now, Ramsey didn't follow him, but still, we needed our big player to play big. It wasn't on him. They just didn't get in the rhythm. So look, this is easy. They went 0 for 4, and that's why they lost this game.
It was a great preview by you, Brandon, and it's great analysis. Going 0 for 4, they had no shot. I said it's great for Paradise Valley house hunters. You might say Paradise Valley. What's that? Oh. Well, that's where Cliff Kingsbury lives. And remember at the draft, he's got his feet up, sockless, that amazing palatial estate. I'm not saying Cliff Kingsbury's going to be fired. That would be ridiculous. What I am saying is, if you're in the market for a $4 or $5 million house in the Paradise Valley area, I might hold off on purchasing it for 18 to 24 months because a great one could be available sooner than you think. Because Cliff Kingsbury has officially entered the, why do we think he's a good coach category? His amazing success at Texas Tech? What's Cliff Kingsbury's signature moment? I don't know. What's the thing he does great at except look good? I don't know that either. So I'm not saying move on. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying I have some questions, and if I were in the market for a house in that area, I might wait a little bit to see if that one is going to come available.
Wow. It's a great take. And I tell you what, it gets worse because I have put in a formal petition to the league where everybody knows that I'm in charge of wins or losses. So if you win the game and you deserve to lose, I am able to change that. I have taken away the Hail Mary, so that is 5 losses in a row. So just lost to the Rams, you got lost to the Patriots, you lost to the Seahawks. The Bills was a win. It is not anymore. You have not built on it. That is going to be a loss, and then Dolphins lost too. So it gets worse. You came into yesterday on a 3-game losing streak. Now you're on a 5-game losing streak somehow.
All right, you guys see this yesterday, Sunday Night Football? It was called an incompletion on the field, but hang on, Tyreek Hill, did he catch this? He didn't know he did. Andy Reid didn't know he did. Everyone else in the world seemed to know, but the next play started right away, and Andy just didn't challenge it. So Brandon, Tyreek Hill, not realizing that he caught a touchdown versus the Broncos, was blank.
It's fluky. I've been in situations like this before as a wide receiver where a ball was just gunned in there by Jay Cutler and there was in between 2 guys and I didn't even realize the ball was in my gut. This is a fluky situation. We'll never see this again, Nick.
Wow.
Y'all have done brought me down. The answer is extremely expensive. I not only had the Chiefs minus the 13, but I had them teased to minus 6.5, tied with everything. I tied them with the Raiders, they won by a miracle, tied them to the Vikings, won by a miracle, tied them with the Falcons, they cover the teaser. I just need the Chiefs to win by 7. So do me a favor, Andy Reid. Don't call the quickest punt that's ever been called. It's like you were rushing. This was extremely expensive, Jenna, and I'm now depressed the rest of the show. Oh,
I love it.
I'll get you back.
Jenna, well, it's okay, buddy. It's all right. You'll make it back in the Super 6. We need to win the Super 6. Brandon, there's certain points in football where I look at it and I'm like, oh, that just seems mean. And I know it's strategic, but it just seems mean, like punching the football. I was like, oh, that just seems, you're like, try to punch the football. So now I think, unfortunately, with this play, If I was a defensive coach, I'm like, every time a guy catches the football or doesn't catch the football in the end zone, rip the ball out. Just rip it out. Because you never know when this play might happen again. So guys are going to catch the ball and get ready to celebrate or give the ball to their mom, and the defensive player should take it and just rip it out. And it's going to feel mean, but it will save a touchdown eventually. Mandatory meanness. It'll also hurt celebrations, Katanic. It's going to be bad, but it's necessary. Mandatory meanness. Rip
so much
out.
great advice on this show. All right, back to our top
Thanks,
story
Jenna.
now. Baker Mayfield finally coming out, putting together a terrific game. But just when I think that he should be taken seriously, he comes to his post-game press conference and says this.
What's different about you now as opposed to a month ago, last year, whatever? Is it something looks different? What's different?
Whenever I'm about to do something, I think, would an idiot do that? And if they would, then I don't do that.
Tomorrow, it's a special edition of the NFL on Fox as Zeke and the Cowboys take on the Ravens. Coverage begins 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Also available on NFL Network and streaming on Prime Video. It is NFL on Tuesday. We get it. Time now for stories to start your morning, sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve. Baker Mayfield and the Browns taking on the Titans, and this one was all Browns from the jump. Cleveland exploded for 38 first-half points. I exploded because I was really wrong about Baker, but only in this game. He showed up, 334 yards, passing, 4 touchdowns. The question is, and I think Brandon agrees with me, can he do it again? Can he show some consistency? Right. Cleveland now, though, virtually a lock for the playoffs after the win. Here's Baker after the game.
I've always believed in myself. I'm not going to pay attention to the BS, just put my head down and work. You know, the job's not finished yet, but playing confident and being who I am, not looking for any approval on the outside, is how I've always been the best at what I've done. And so that's how I need to do it. I can't let people change me because somebody did it different in the past. I am who I am, and I've always said that, so I'm going to continue to do that and improve.
All right, Nick, so the Browns are 9-3. This is what you said they were capable of. Baker had a great game. The Browns played a great game. At 9-3, should we now, and most likely going to make it to the playoffs, should we now be considered this team Super Bowl contenders? Is that the next step for them?
That's the next step, but they're still on this step. So that'll be the step next year. That's the step they need to get to next year. So I'm going to remind the audience about a team all the way back 4 years ago. The Los Angeles Rams spent the #1 pick of the draft on a quarterback. After a year of terrible coaching, he looked like a disaster. They then brought in a new coach who actually knew what the hell he was doing. They went 11-5 and made the playoffs, and everyone said, oh, that team is finally headed in the right direction. The very next year, they went 13-3 and made the Super Bowl. They unfortunately lost the Super Bowl to Kevin Wilde's beloved New England Patriots.
And now you think he's terrible.
Browns are on that step there. The Browns are on that step, okay? They are on the last 2 years, they might have had the 2 worst coaches in the history of the league. With respect to Hugh Jackson, I don't actually think he's the worst coach in the history of the league, but he has the worst coaching record of anyone who's ever coached at least 40 games. And Freddie Kitchens has the most bizarre football resume I've ever seen. Position coach for 30 years, 1 year of a head coach, right back to being position coach. That's right. Freddie Kitchens' resume. Now, they've got a living, breathing, real head coach in Stefanski. They have been able to overcome injuries. Odell's done for the year. Chubb missed time. Myles Garrett missed time. They're still sitting there at 9-3. I think they should be incredibly pleased with what they've done so far this year. Now, do I think they are good enough to win 3 consecutive road playoff games, which is what they would have to do, including beating the Steelers and the Chiefs on the road? No, I don't. Do I think that should be the standard we hold this team to? No, I don't. I think this is a great stepping stone year for a Browns team that a lot of folks were ready to write off Baker and write off the team before the year even started, Brandon.
Well, first of all, before I even answer the question, let me respond to your coaching comments. You're 100% right with Freddie Kitchens. He did not deserve to be a head coach, and I'm glad they made that decision fast to move on from him. However, when you talk about Hugh Jackson, Now, when we talk about him as the coach, we got to understand the situation. So if you want to go back a couple years, let's look at what he was dealt.
No.
Look at his roster.
That's totally
Probably
fair.
98%.
That's totally fair.
98% of Hugh Jackson's roster is no longer in the NFL. And remember,
That's
all
right.
right, this is the time where the Cleveland Browns was playing around with the whole Moneyball approach.
Yep.
They adopted the baseball approach where everybody's going with the analytics and the data, and they tried this in the NFL, and it failed. Of course, Hugh Jackson is going to lose in that situation.
Sure.
Now, obviously, there are some things that he could have done differently. Now, let's go to this conversation. Should they be considered contenders? I said if they win and if Baker throws for over 250 yards, we should consider them contenders. I think it was Bill Parcells that said it. You're as good as your record. They're 9-3. So, Nick, it really needs to, it's a question for you. Why wouldn't we consider them Super Bowl contenders? Why did you pick the Titans to beat them? Why don't you believe in them?
The same reason.
Right? Like, they're 9-3.
Brandon, the same reason that if the Bills win tonight, they're not Super Bowl contenders. That's why.
What is a Super Bowl contender?
Magical 9-3.
Let's get on the same page. What does it mean to be a Super Bowl contender? So we're on the same page.
This year, it means someone that can go to Pittsburgh and Kansas City and win. And Wilds, if they were in the NFC, I would say yes, but they're not. They have to go to an undefeated team and a team that's the defending champs with Mahomes. So they're just in a tough spot this season being in the AFC.
Okay, you've laid out a wonderful argument. The challenge is this. You don't think anyone can go into Kansas City and can win a game, and the Steelers are undefeated. So if the third best team is not a contender, then let's just cancel the playoffs. Let's just have them play virtually on Madden and make it a sales thing and we'll make it an e-commerce thing because you don't think anybody can beat those teams. The fact is this. A lot of 9-3 teams have made the Super Bowl. It's my favorite graphic. Is it a little logically flawed? Perhaps. Is it logically perfect at the same time? Yes, it is. A lot of Super Bowl champions up there. 2014, my personal favorite, Hall of Famer Julian Edelman wins Super Bowl MVP. So let's not act like 9-3 is, this is some amazing graphic like it's 5-11 somehow sneak into the playoffs and win the Super Bowl. They're 9-3, Nick. I think that we're giving them the most credit, Brandon and I, and you somehow are taking the Browns' credit mantle.
Not.
I think you should pass it over to us.
All you guys are trying to do is set it up so you can say they failed. That's all that's happening.
No, I'm not.
I want them to win.
Back yourself far enough. No, hold on. Let's just be real about this. If you back yourself far enough into a corner about Baker should be benched for Case Keenum, that they're not going to make the playoffs, and now they have the fourth best record, in the entire sport, you have two options. One is to say I was wrong. The other is to move it to.
We go back.
But
No, that's not what happened. No, that's not what happened. Go back to week 3, week 4 when we thought they were struggling. What I said was they need to play better in the secondary. They need to run the ball and they need to lean on play action. That's what they have done.
And they should consider going to Case Keenum.
Yeah, because he throws the ball better. Any quarterback can operate a running game system. Any quarterback can do that. Case Keenum gives them a better option to pass game. That's what I said a couple weeks ago.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.